Hello again, everybody. Welcome to South Movement Branch Update number 94. Mighty good looking train. Been working on building a single to double track transition module today. Mostly glued and nailed together. I've been putting little blocks in the corners for additional strength. And it's only 35 inches long, and I'm not going to put a brace in the middle unless I have to. And I will put some blocks in here and mount some foam, I think, on each side of the solid surface for the track. And I might not even put a tortoise on this. I might just have it so you flip a Pico turnout back and forth using its built-in spring. Haven't decided that yet. But and when I went to nail this one, even though I'd already glued it, it slipped a little bit, but you know, a little bit of distributed power on there, and you know, the old hammer against the block maneuver, and that took care of that. Now I'm installing some screws. I'm countersinking screws for this top plate into some 1x that I installed down there. Again, that's glued and nailed. But you know, plywood just likes to flex, and wood just likes to flex. So to make this as smooth of a transition as possible, I'm screwing it into place. I'm going to, although I might take the screws out later and maybe take my sander to it, sand it down. Okay, so jumping ahead a little bit, I've assembled the second one. I had to go get some more screws at the local hardware store, and I was going to get some thumb screws as well, but they didn't have any except for stainless steel, and I thought okay, well maybe I'll purchase one or two of those. And then I looked at the $6 per price or something like that, and I went, no. Not at all. Not at all. I'll look around and see if I can find them elsewhere. I'm pretty sure that the Home Despot has them or something. Anyway, but I got the second module basically assembled, and I'm going to go down to Puyallup this weekend and visit my friend Andy down there and get some wiring pieces that I need to complete that. And we'll get these things put together. All right, so last night after I got home and did some things, I got at the flat black, and painted the side frames. Today, I got out the brown and did the top and the edges of it, just to give it some coverage there. And I also installed some little pieces of plywood that will cap off the leg pockets, so when the legs slide up in there, they will go right into the foam that's going to be in this area. Speaking of foam, I cut some pieces of this 1 inch, and I did it at an angle. You probably can't tell in this picture, but in this video, but these modules are 26 inches on one end and 24 on the other, because they're going to be 2 tracks to 1 track transition, or vice versa, depending on the way you look at it. Anyway, so I cut some of this 1 inch foam, and I made it so that it would stand up above the surface here. I'm not sure I'm going to leave it that way. I'm looking at that and going, well, no, maybe I actually want to cut it and fit it into it. I could go either way with that. So anyway, then I'll have all kinds of scenery area here, and yeah, we'll see how that works out. That's as far as I've gotten right now. Okay, so next steps, I took this and you guys can see the lines on there. I took my number 8 left-hand eco switch, and after drawing the typical Fremo straight track lines in other words, on a module, the rule is 6 inches straight from the end. So I put 6 inches up here, I put 6 inches down here, and then kind of laid in my turnout, figure out where I wanted it. So I kind of thought that right here would probably be a good spot. And then I drew a couple of dots with a Sharpie. And oh, forgot to do it. Drew the straight line all the way through the module. Then kind of, like I said, I kind of figured out where I wanted the turnout to go. From the 6 inches from the bottom here, I then drew a line through the middle of where the diverging track dot was to here. And then I thought, okay, I want to draw another line that goes from that over to where the throw bar is. If that doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, right? Anyway, so the turnout's going to sit here. The track will come up to it, diverge left and straight, and then yeah, I'm going to put some cork down for this and put some feeders in there, and then I had this idea for the foam that I haven't quite fleshed out yet, so we'll see how that works out. Time to carve some foam. You can kind of see the line that I've drawn on the edge of this, and there's kind of this hexagonal shape to the handle of the hot wire, the foam knife here. It's not a hot wire brand foam knife. This thing's like 30 bucks on Amazon. Anyway, and I've sped this video up a lot, but you can see that it looks pretty good, right? Well, that's because I'm steadying my hand on the foam as I move along. And I was actually pretty pleased with the way this turned out. So I started by using my hot foam knife, and you may see some of the video of that. I probably didn't need to do that, actually, but I made a cut across here, giving that an angle. And then I took my utility knife. This thing is one of these sliding ones that you can get a pretty long cut out of it. And then I made some cuts, measuring as best as I could here and here, and I cut down into this. Now, you just don't want to go too far, but you can get, I don't know, if you do this stuff a lot, you can get to the point where you're not too bad at it. And then I notched it on every side. It's a lot of work, and again, there might be a better way of doing this. So, but I got to the point where it kind of fits into the frame of the module. Now, I'll probably take my heated knife and come around the outside and give this all contour down to start with, and we'll and see where it goes from there, because I can use that other one to make it so these edges are better. And I don't want the foam to go all the way to the edge anyway, because that'll just get beat up in transport. Okay, so sadly, the foam I apparently had cut kind of partial way through it before, and it kind of broke on me where I was trying to make this other piece work. But it wasn't a complete loss. I was able to take it down even a little bit more and make it fit the other side of the module almost perfectly. I got some fill-in work to do, but I think that'll work pretty good there. And I went ahead and cut up and glued down cork, pinned that in place. That's been a little bit. Even though I plan on using the spring switch for control of this turnout, I did go ahead and cut a throw bar hole in case I change my mind at some point, so I can come back and mount a tortoise or something underneath there. And I can probably go ahead and pull all these pins out of there. And then, oops, there goes something I just knocked off. And then I'll have to mount some end plates on this thing. Finish getting it tracked up. So that part looks pretty good. And now I'm working on the other side. And I'll show you what I've been doing with this. I took this one and it's in the of course right now. There we go. And I did the same thing. I notched it. And then I took my hot foam knife and I cut out this piece. Now the nice thing about stuff like that is that it'll sit back in there pretty good. Not bad, right? I'd like it a little deeper. So if I get in here, I think, and I cut out this some more, I already did this a little bit, but I think if I cut out this some more, it'll actually drop further in there. Okay, you know what? That actually didn't work. So I'm thinking about cutting the top off this piece, but that might actually make the situation worse. Maybe I'll go with plan B or plan C, whatever plan number that is now, and glue this to the bottom of this foam piece. That'll make it deeper than I had intended, but it might be interesting nonetheless. I've decided I'm just going to go ahead and glue this thing to the bottom of this piece. And if I don't like it, well, I'll redo it later. Okay, T-pins in place, and I'll let that dry, and then I think some Sculptamold to kind of round out the inside of it a little bit. And maybe I'll carve some more on that too. We'll see. I'm prepping this turnout for use, and one of the things I got to do is get rid of the final set of tie plates on the end of this turnout. I suppose I could probably just cut the tie off, but I don't see a good reason to do that when I can leave it in place, and I can use my my X-Acto here to just go underneath there and scrape these out, basically. All right, now I've marked place to drill 7/32 holes for the feeders between the other ends of the turnout. It should be there. And there, and there. Okay. Now, that should do it. Okay, I'm gonna come back, and my blue wire is on this track away from me. I feel like I knew that, but I always want to be sure. Blue, white, right? Blue, and white, like that. Right, and then the turnout back in place. Now, before I make my final sit down, I'll put down some glue there so that the turnout will, the track and all that will have some Lynden tacky glue, gluing them in place just like I do on my own layout. You will see these feeders attached to the end of this turnout in a minute. And there you have it. Now this one, can't see this, but take my word for it. The where the hole is, a little bit less strain if I turn the feeder around. And there you have it. I glued down the end tie plates, but before I did so, I drilled some holes in them and put some track spikes in the, or put holes for track spikes in them. Then after I got them in place with the Lynden tacky glue, I came through and grabbed my pin vise and then drilled down far enough for the track nail to go in with minimal resistance. I mean, some resistance, not a lot. But those things are really not going anywhere now. Need to mark these things so I know where my 1-inch line is. It's just easier to do this with a square. And the 1 inch is the setback on the track from the end of the module. Not the end of the tie plate, but the end of the module. And that way I can use that line to trim the track back when I get around to that, which will probably be pretty soon. So I think it's time to trim that track. Get this to where I want it to be, and that will probably be good enough. So I finished basically installing the track and glued it in place. I've got feeders underneath there, and I did a power test on the track to the bus wires that are underneath. So tested it in like 6 different places and everything seems to have power. So this module is at least serviceable, if not pretty yet. Module number 2 is getting the rest of the cork. My friend Andy provided a number 8 turnout. It is an electro frog, which I neglected to ask him about that first. Not exactly a big fan of those, but it's what we have, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get an Insel frog before the show, so I might have to work with having that, which would mean my plan of having just people put their finger on it and move the points of the switch is not going to work, because I need something that will throw and will change the polarity of the frog when that is thrown. And I don't know of a way to do that without some kind of a, something that knows the position and changes automatically, unless I'm putting a toggle underneath there, and I'm not going to do that. A general test here, it fits in the trailer and it basically makes it where I want it to be. So I'm going to have to work on my anchoring a little bit, but I think I can put those modules, and then eventually I think I'll build another module that'll be some deep scenery that'll look really cool. Probably won't get that done till next summer though. So tonight I've been working on the rack that's on the right, and one of the modules is already up there. The second shelf is not done. And I put a brace on the back that's basically 45 degrees. So that steadies that up a lot. Getting the wiring basically done on this module. Would you believe that I had these scraps laying around, and so most of the mainline bus here is actually little short pieces that I already had. That almost never happens, you know, where you can use stuff like that. So I've got these lever nuts up here, and I think I'm actually going to move this block over a little bit. But basically, you know, that's not going anywhere now. And if I have to do troubleshooting or anything, it'll probably be pretty good. Hopefully everything will just work. And I do plan on trying to get it tested tomorrow. I have the day off, and then I got to work the next day, and then the next day I got to leave in the morning and go to Lynden. While I was at Lynden, I roamed over to the Boeing Employees Model Railroad Club's modular layout and visited with those guys. There's Caleb and Michael in the background. Back at our layout, I'm watching Larry Siebely run his RDC around the layout. And here comes Fred's Southern Pacific passenger train, rolling over one of the modules that Larry brought with him from the Cold Slap group in Canada. I'm taking a slow 360-degree view of our layout. Our layout was in a G shape, and we had the reverse loops at each end of it. If we'd had a couple more modules and maybe another corner, we could have really filled out that space. But, you know, we had quite a bit of layout, and it kept everybody busy for the weekend. Way back when, Andy actually made a single track corner, which we don't usually get to use. But this time, we actually got to put it in the layout, and it makes for a nice spot for photography. One of the guys said there was a problem with the turnout, and I went over here and got a closer look and realized that there was part of the frog that was missing. It had broken off and was sitting off to the side. I took this video so you guys could see that, and we don't know how long that was going on, but the trains are running. I decided to go over and visit my friends at the 4D N-track layout. Over there at the time were Allo, Kurt Laidlaw, and Dennis Tapstra. While I was roaming around over there, I noticed that Dennis's wife, Gidget, was hanging out as well, so I got to chat with her for a few minutes. Always good to see those folks.
How's Larry doing this morning?
Oh, pretty good, Kurt. How are you?
I'm better than a poke in the eye. Just barely.
We ended up only using one of the two single to double track transition modules I brought with me, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll get to use them in the future now that we have them. And there's a lot of scenery work left to do on these, and more on that later. Before we packed everything up and went home, we paused to take a picture, and we got almost everybody in the shot. I don't know where Tom was, and Norman was taking the picture. Back home now, I've decided to carve some more of the foam on top of this transition module. It performed quite well at the show, and I was really happy with the results. And so I'll move forward on making it look better. I put a thin bead of Eileen's tacky glue on this, and I'm gonna lay that one side of the foam in place. Once I do that, I'm gonna weight it and maybe make up some sculptor mold to kind of patch in around it. So I made 2 cuts in the foam with the hot foam knife. And what I'm gonna attempt to do is get in here and see if I can cut it across now. Well, I was gonna take video as I went along with the cutting, but I zoned out and forgot. So I used a hot foam knife, dug out the main part. Now I'm using a rasp to kind of contour it. I gotta say the rasp is probably my least favorite foam tool. It makes the biggest mess, and oftentimes leaves a texture behind I don't like. But anyway, I thought what I might do is put a little like gravel service road over here and fill in the rest of this with like trees and stuff. Anyway, so I think I'm gonna stop with the rasp pretty soon here, and then I guess, you know, your signal maintainer guy will have to just walk down the embankment. So we'll do what I do here, so we'll see how it looks in the end. As I was looking at this, I was thinking I got quite a bit of lip here, and so I think what I'll do is I'll use my hoop and cut back a ways from the track. And so here we go. Wait for it to warm up, and then see if I can angle her down there. Let's see what we got. Whew. I put on my paint mask, but it doesn't seem to be much of a defense against this stuff. And yes, it is one of those better paint masks as well, not just the paper face thing. Anyway, well, that's better. But I think I might carve it along here. Let's kill that power. Grab my utility knife. And then I want the road to come down here. So let's do this. Let's go over here. And yeah, maybe that'll work. Ooh, we are getting back there, aren't we? I think we still got a little bit of lip. Okay, I think we're good there. So maybe what I'll do is rasper over here this way. We'll see what that looks like. Now that might work. Not really getting low enough. Nope, phone broke. Well, damn it. I was going to use some sculpture mold there anyway, so that'll probably work. I think I'll cut this back a little bit more, and then maybe we'll just smooth the road down. And I may create like a little stone wall there. But yeah, I think if I smooth this out, I'll have enough of a good spot for a nice little service road that comes down. See what I mean about the rasp not being my favorite tool? It's annoying. Okay, so I'm gonna vacuum that. It's got a little thin down here, so I put in some, I had a thin piece of foam that just went on the ground, and I'm gonna slap that on there. Okay, pinned that in place, and we'll see how it looks in a minute. I may end up doing something with that too, because it's not sitting down there in the corner the way I'd like it to. Okay, so I managed to kind of plop this down, and that sculpture mold has been there for probably about, an hour. And I put a little bit more over here. Now there's some gapping down in here. And I'm a little close to the road bed. I think I might carve it back and then fill it in, or maybe I'll just stuff some in there. I don't know. Anyway, I started to put more on the road there, and then I thought, no, you know what? I'm gonna try that texture as it is and see what happens. See, I always find that spraying, putting down this stuff and then wetting it or whatever, and then putting down the glue, even the stuff that says it has a wetting agents, which I love the Woodland Scenics Scenic Cement. I actually think that's a pretty good product. I like the way it's mixed, and it does dry flat, which is really nice. But I do find that unless I smear some glue down first, even if I'm gently applying it with a pipette, the product still moves around. So, but when you put glue underneath it, and then, take stuff and you put it on here, it's gonna kind of stay put. I'm gonna do a little spot here, and I really need to be holding my catch basin beneath the edge of this, so I'm gonna stop recording. I'm gonna demonstrate what happens when you spray this with the alcohol, because some people recommend you do that. You'll notice it gets pilly, and I don't like that. So I like to pipette the alcohol on there and then put down the scenic cement. You probably can't see it, but I just dribbled some isopropyl on this, but you'll be able to see it with the scenery cement, because as I'm using the pipette and I'm going along here, you're going to notice that it's going downhill. Well, I didn't soak the entire hill with alcohol. I'm letting gravity do it. And what I find is funny is that as the scenery cement kind of spreads out, it pushes the alcohol ahead of it. It's kind of a neat thing. So it does that work for you. You don't have to soak the entire landscape in alcohol. My brush a little wet, and spread it. Well, I kept on keeping on, and I've got the whole side there with the basic scenery level, and I've thrown some trees in there too. Not the most fancy or expensive trees, but hey, this is a module. It's going to get carried around, taken to shows and all that jazz. But I've got some other trees that are going to go on it as well. And I think it's coming right along. Since I was painting rail, I brought the air compressor and the other gear in here and went ahead and painted the rail up to the bridge. I'll have to get it from the other side at some point. Anyway, that's going to be it for episode 94 of my South Olympic Branch Update series. Until next time, y'all take care and have fun with your trains out there. Bye.